welcome to the podcast. So today I have the new course director for BA at Coventry University and the deputy course director. So say hello to Shaun Hutchinson and James Ayre. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi there. Hi. Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming. So I'm going to start with you, James. If you'd like to introduce yourself, how did you get to Coventry University?
So hi. How did I get to Coventry University? Well, I studied here in 2012 and completed an MDes degree from here, and then went back out into the industry, but never got further than Coventry itself. And so then to land back into Coventry University wasn't a huge, change and a big jump. And over the time in industry, I was also quite involved in partnerships with the course and being involved with education of our students over that time. And then, I joined 3 years ago into Coventry University as the teaching team. Really enjoying it so far.
Very good. How about you, Shaun?
Good. Well, I also studied here, but left here. Popped out to the RCA for a couple of years. Spent a decade over in Old Smoky in London, where I started doing research. And what's interesting, I actually ended up coming back to Coventry because of their facilities. London's a very small space. Real estate is very limited. And I came here mainly because they had some fantastic simulator and workshop facilities, which would allow me to test and do some of the really very active sort of research design stuff that I needed to do for my research. And then I kind of progressed into the role. I've been through the years, been here about 15 years or so, in the automotive and transport design course. So I've been here since, for level 1, level 2, level 3. And eventually I just fell into the position of being seconded into the course leader to take over it for a while, just to allow other people to do other activities in the university. So that's where I am.
Very good. So obviously Coventry has a, really great history. It's like you celebrated 50 years last year, I believe. You have a brand new building, the Delia Derbyshire building. How do you reflect on that heritage? I'll ask you, Shaun.
Yeah, no, the heritage is massively important for us. A lot of the collaborations and a lot of the relationships we form and our ability to industrially align so that our students are employable and our students are knowledgeable is actually forged through some of our old alumni and those relationships that we have. I think we're really lucky to be in Coventry, apart from it being bombed in the war for being, the transport central of the UK. It's also, it's got a lot of stuff going on in the Midlands, and it's actually a really good place to be situated. We've got consultancies, we've got large OEs, we've got prototypers, model makers. We've got you guys down the road in Birmingham. It's all here. And so it's actually a really, really convenient place to be situated in the Midlands for automotive design. So, and that's been, as I say, it's been that way for many, many, many years, and I still believe it is. So those are some of the advantages. In terms of the general heritage, it's led us to maybe consider that.
Very good. Very good.
It's given us a big leg up, I'd say, in terms of moving into the future. There are lots of advancements at the moment in terms of technology, whether it's about digital modeling or artificial intelligence, and having that heritage to fall back on and understanding, some of the primary objectives of automotive design, because it's embedded into the course already. It helps us to stabilize the way we look at new technologies and not just to fly off into a different direction and, almost ignore, studios that are quite traditional, and who value and respect the traditions of automotive design. So, the heritage is good and it's really useful.
Very good. Yeah, absolutely. James, obviously, were you aware of all those famous alumni when you started? And the other question is, are the students now aware that, they're famous names like McGovern, Page, Bousset? Are they aware of this heritage as well?
It's something that we are very aware of as an asset that we can build on in open days and when we're looking at recruitment, and that's when we try to inform people. But honestly, it's quite hard to name drop everybody without bragging and without saying, these are all of the great people that have come through this course. But talking on history and the people that are associated to the course, having us build relationships within the curriculum and having partners that come in that have also studied at different stages of this course's development over the years, brings the connection to the students. They're not just like part of the history, they're actively participating in and continuing the relationship with Coventry University, and that's really something positive for the student experience, for the output of the student work, and for the course to maintain its most relevance. That's really key. Is somebody can say, well, we've started to do this, we're thinking about doing this. Let's build that into this year's project with our year 2 students, and let's look at, okay, well, how do I come in as an industry expert and sit with the students and teach this as a new practice? And that's something that we hope over the coming years we start to see a big change in our degree shows and our final outputs, is the effect that it's had in recent years of industry making positive change on our course.
Very good. Yeah, that brings me to my next question. How do you see your curriculum collaborating with the industry now that you're both in charge of the curriculum? I'll start with you, Shaun.
I think one of the main things that we want to focus on, I know COVID was a while away, but we still feel the after effects of that. We moved into a very digital phase during COVID, where people were finding the advantages of working at home and, burying themselves into a very, very digital world. We're lucky enough to have what we kind of think we have one of the largest clay modelling studios in Europe. Our studio can hold, over 50 students in terms of that type of facility. And we want to try and get back to physicality without being too fundamentalist. And I know there is a bigger story in terms of design. But the basic gig, as far as I can see, is we think of ideas, we draw them, we visualize them, then we make them. That's the basic ongoing procedure of design. If you look in Oxford Dictionary, it's about making a plan to make something. So we want to try and simplify things a bit in terms of the curriculum and really work on students making an intense narrative and building that up and explaining that very vividly. We can use all sorts of new tools nowadays, AI, sub-D, working quickly to get, opportunities, to present opportunities, and then visualizing them at a very vivid level. And as I say, that stuff can happen really quickly nowadays. And then get students used to translating that into 3D. So our course really needs to start rotating around those 3 core elements, design thinking, visualizing, drawing, and making. And our curriculum, we're kind of changing the curriculum at the moment into those 3 blocks. There's an extra one about, that focuses on students and then looking internally. But our new curriculum is transforming it in that particular way at the moment. Yeah. And that's being affected from the top down to enable us, because we do have a really good facility in terms of prototyping and in terms of making and visualizing. With computer labs, we've got a large immersive suite that is completely insulating. You can do all sorts of things, body motion capture. as well as prototyping, the traditional sort of rapid prototyping and clay modelling. We have some great virtual reality facilities that are embedded into our department that have been provided by some of our technical industrial partners such as Gravity Sketch, and we have some great support in terms of some of the CAD work from yourself, obviously. That is offered to everyone, but I think we've got some really interesting opportunities in this building, if that makes sense, that allows students. And one of the big things at the moment is collaboration, getting students to understand that, no man or woman is an island, and that when you go to work in the industry, you work in a team of people, and that you'll all have different roles, whether it be CMF, lighting, interior, exterior, HMI, user experience, you're all going to be part of the team. And we want students to allow themselves to specialise in terms of particular areas and feel confident about being a part of that particular area. So that's how we see the curriculum kind of shoring up at the moment.
And we look to get professionals in from industry at more layers than just where they're at the moment, which is involved in one one core part of the course. We'd like to get them involved in, say, model making from the earlier stages, and use our facilities and bring professionals into those facilities to consult with the students about their work and to provide extra voice and extra clarity to the students on their design process. We are also looking to develop more like across community competitions with industry partners, and have all years involved in different levels to teach other levels. And building more of a studio practice and more of a studio community within the students. Just relying and building on our industry partners. As I said earlier, getting the feedback from them and understanding what do they think is lacking in students to progress and really make change into our curriculum. That's what we're looking to build with the partners.
Very good. I mean, as much as a digital guy that I am, I do believe for education, the basic is really sketching and yes, making stuff yourself to understand, shapes and lead in and acceleration. How the kids these days, how do you feel they are they receptive to all this basic sketch building blocks really of design? How do you feel? Are they responsive, or are they all just want to do what they saw on Instagram and do like pull on points all day? What do you feel, James?
Well, Instagram's an interesting challenge, we'll call it. Yeah. I think what they see on Instagram is they see someone produce something in 30 seconds, and it looks really easy. They see someone have an opinion that they've formed. Now, what a new first year may not understand, and the majority of our first years come from A levels, or they've come from school, so they're limited in terms of their vision and their level of knowledge, and so they come and they kind of feel, oh yeah, this is easy, and when it doesn't work out, they kind of feel demotivated. So we scaffold the first year very, very heavily with essentially drawing and creativity classes. We've got one of our great members of staff who you've already met, Ashley Knight, who is a whiz with Photoshop, and he understands the basics of design very, very well. And we scaffold it very well so that we're not overloading them in the beginning phases. Yeah. And as they move towards second year, we give them more independence, but we kind of embed a lot more industry knowledge into them. In first year, the industry knowledge is about telling them what the discipline is. So we like to get industry partners to come in and say, can you tell them the type of things you do every day, so they understand what a CMF designer does, they understand what an exterior designer does, they understand what a yacht designer does. And they can make choices about what they want to be then, if that makes sense. They learn the basic skills And then in second year, they practice, and in final year, they exercise and they demonstrate those skills.
I think the age of Instagram and TikTok and everything has encouraged students to think that things come quickly. And I think as a wise designer, we know that it comes with hard work and effort and commitment. And I think, there are methods like AI to produce something rapidly, and to say, well, that's what I want, and that's what I stand by. But we're trying to encourage students to find, well, what was their real motivation to come to a creative course like this? How do we encourage them to be ultra creative? Maybe the first year is a space that they're not wrong, right? They're just going to produce something wild that they can identify with and have some fun explaining how that works, and really get behind what they think automotive design is, to build that commitment and to build an understanding of the fundamentals of design. Once they're involved and they understand the time process that it takes to get to a delivered design, I think then we can teach them all of these areas. But we need to get them on board into that design thinking, that design work.
I think AI is a really interesting area. I know there's been a lot of people are reserved. I think some of them for technical issues like IP, ownership of your ideas, but some of it's about, I don't really see the worth, or, how is this a good force of this, for design? And I think what we're doing at the moment is we're having lots of conversations and trying to rationalise how AI is used, talking to industry members and getting their feedback, as well as evaluating it ourselves. And I think the general feeling that we've all come to is that the initial spark needs to come from a human in terms of the output. That makes it yours, and it doesn't make it, some model generated on Mid-Journey. And then we can use AI as an accelerator to get us to a level of clarity where we can then start making decisions, so we get more time to make decisions. And from there, we have a visual guide that we can then take into model making of some sort, whether it's subdeal, whether it's NURBS. It gives us that opportunity and a bit longer to look at the choices. So we're hoping that the way we're pushing it is we're hoping that it gives students the opportunity to think more about design, and for them to question what they're designing, ask themselves if they're doing the right thing, if this is the appropriate aesthetic, what's wrong with this design, have that internal dialogue and really shore up an idea. For so many years, a lot of the struggles have been about wrestling with the tools and getting to a final output, and then kind of almost having to be happy with it or extend the timelines of a project because you're not happy with it. We kind of feel that where we are now, we can visualize so quickly that we can no longer really be,
very good.
We can't really accept a glossy image as a good output, if that makes sense, because anyone can do a glossy image now.
Yeah. And having that foundational creativity built in.
Yeah.
And teaching that what it means to be a designer, right? What it means to produce a design. And having the students really critically think, was that my actual goal? Was that where I wanted it to be? Is it creative enough? Is it boundary pushing enough to represent myself? And have them built into them.
Yeah. So it's interesting that the conversations we have with industry is that when they come in, we kind of say to them, when you're looking at the students' work, we understand that some of the work's going to look really nice, and it's going to look really flashy, and it's going to look really glossy, and there's going to be a high level of visual interpretation. We're asking you, when you talk to the students, to almost ignore that now, because anyone can do that, and really bury into the reasons why.
Yeah, the story.
Yeah, the story, the narrative, and ask when you're talking to the students, ask them about, why does this look like this? Is it appropriate? What's the marketplace? How does this fit into this marketplace? How does this work in terms of the powertrain? And really question the crux of design, rather than going, oh, that's a nice picture. Which is, between us all, that's what happens sometimes. And the picture becomes the star. I do remember when I was at university, we all used to sit there aghast with our mouths open, watching as someone put up this marvelous rendering. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I remember
really
that.
Good. Yeah, you remember that as well, yeah.
We all got that. Yeah.
We all got that, didn't we?
We remember the day when that was awesome. We remember the day when we saw somebody else do it and think, how do we get there? How do we do that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, and I've been collaborated with Coventry over the years, happily. We try to tell the students, you don't need to jump onto the tube right away. It's like, solve the problem, pose the problem, answer the problem with a nice story. And this is what we're trying to get to now is how do you, because I think people, I always tell them your employer wants you to solve their problem.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a model, if it's visualization, if it's a cool design, but at the bottom, you solve problems visually, but you still solve problems. So the question is, how do you frame the problem correctly and how do you answer it correctly? And this is why we're trying to get them more analytical, because as you say, anybody can go into Midjourney once you found the right prompt and get a nice picture. So,
and that internet age, that Instagram, they don't see the problem, right? They don't see the problem, they just see an image, and then that skews the view of what automotive design is, or what industrial design is, and so that's an important step to learn.
So the question for both of you is, how did you see a shift in students and their attitude towards design? How do you focus them on telling them, you need to learn how to sketch, you need to learn how to, frame a problem? Is that more challenging now than it was before?
I think it most probably is, because so many of them are computer literate. I know when I was a student, I was probably, in fact, I know when I went to the RCA, I was the first person to have a PC at my desk back in 1998 or something like that. Ken Greenley got me a large G4 Macintosh where I did video work and all the Photoshop, and we've grown up without the internet. We've grown up without computers. The students that we got at the moment have never been in a world without a PC, without a phone, without a mobile phone where you have everything on it. And they're very embedded into that culture. And as a result, we need to remind them about the necessity to express themselves using their artistic abilities. I personally don't mind if someone wants to use a pencil, they can use a pencil. If they want to use their toes of a piece of charcoal, I don't mind either. As long as the ideas come out, it's all about the expression of the idea and thinking about the idea. And so we try and encourage them to do more drawing. Obviously, our first year, it focuses primarily on drawing skills and helping people to explore their creativity. So,
if I may, do you and I'm curious to answer to this question. Do they feel that it's necessary, or do they feel like, why am I bothering with this? Because, as I said, you see so much online, like I'm worried that they're losing sight that this is the building block. Do you feel that they still know and understand that it's the building block?
I think some of them just don't know. And I think the student of my age is vastly different to the student now, as I say. They come in from school because of the way the UK education is, the focus, and this is probably one of my, obviously, critiques of the government at the moment, unfortunately, that there's such an emphasis on STEM that the arts are being killed. You go into A-level, I've seen schools without art on the curriculum. I see high schools and primary schools without art on the curriculum. I asked my daughter's teacher, she's 9, and I said, where's the art? And she says, we integrate it into the learning when we're talking about subjects. I sent my daughter to a school that has an art room. So there's somewhere for her to go and for her to concentrate on art. But it's lacking in the curriculum and the education because of financial situations in the world. The important things to the world seem to be other things. So they come to us and they have a different opinion, especially the home students. Now, some of the some of the overseas students, they're different. And we tend to find that, the Korean students are awesome. Before they come here, they've already had a foundational year of art. So they understand the necessity for drawing and understanding about sketching, and we work on their design capabilities rather than their drawing capabilities. But yeah, I tend to find that some of them do. I don't think that they devaluate it.
Yeah.
I think they understand the usefulness of it, and we iterate the usefulness of it, and we try to teach them the usefulness of being able to pick up a pen and scribble an idea down.
I think as well, not to offend, I am closer to the generation that we teach. Who would have thought? But I am one of the students that, we arrived with a laptop, right? A powerful laptop, and we came to uni, and that was like, okay, well, I'm going to design some cars, right? I'll go get the best card and go and learn that. However, I'm also of the age band that was still studying fine art as A levels and product design as A levels, and so we have to understand every student and where they've come from, and understand, and you can see it quite quickly in our year one students who's come from an artistic background, who's prepared to pick up a pen and pencil and just put something on a napkin, and who would prefer to open Illustrator and build something a lot more technical, a lot more accurate. Fortunately, the industry has changed sort of as I arrived, maybe in sort of 2010, we started to get much more
very good.
Broader roles that people can play in the industry, right? And it's no longer just one person or one type of designer doing one thing. Now our students can go into so many more fields and access so many more of their own skill sets and interests within that subgenre. That I think that we need to shift to adopt that. We still teach the creativity in there and the fine art principles and the different things, but they do have an avenue to go into. And so it's about locating that avenue to get them to where they want to be and where they can do best.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important that we try and understand more about sort of disciplinary inclusion. That we do get these relationships with CMF departments. One of our best relationships with the CMF department is a graduate, and he was one of the first from our course to go out into the CMF field, and he realised, at least in his final year, that he knew where he wanted to go. And we try and encourage those students to stand up for themselves, if that makes sense, and say, I want to be a CMF designer.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I know specialising.
Yeah, I know everyone else around here is drawing cars and exteriors, but I know I want to be that, so I'm going to do that, and we support that.
Designing something effectively, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing, and I think you're completely correct, James, in terms of saying that we have so many different avenues, and for us it's about steering them into the area where they're strongest. I always say to students, look, I know you probably want to be a Ferrari designer, but your skill base that you've picked up from school and that you've grown up with and that we're having to work with now for the next 3 years really indicates that you're more of a technical person. So maybe you need to go into something such as nerves modelling, or start to think more about HMI, or something that includes a level of technicality. We get lots of different types of students. And that helps us because we do have good numbers sometimes. At one point, I think the course was something like 100.
I was 120 when I joined.
Large, so everyone's got to find a place. Not everyone's going to be an exterior designer.
Yeah.
And
that brings me to my next point, actually. So when I do come and talk to the students, and I try to make them aware of there are really cool careers in the design studio, and and now they're even more segmented than when I started. You can be just a mauler. You can be like a technical mauler or a more artistic mauler.
Yeah.
But, being the superstar exterior designer still has a great appeal, and people will flock to try to become, the next Jerry McGovern. But many won't. So my question to you was, how do you, quote unquote, let them down easy, and how do you communicate that not everybody can be a car designer because it's extraordinarily difficult. So I was trying to get your take on that.
Yeah, I think the fact that we get lots of people in, for instance, we do like a Coventry Connections symposium every year. And that's really good because we can get people from different backgrounds and from different sizes, and they talk to them about their field. We get special visiting lecturers that come in, and they can talk to them about their fields. And they're all from different places, from yacht design to, to CMF, to user experience, to research or what have you. And that helps them to understand. Maybe sometimes they feel an alignment with some of these people, but we do explain to them, in first year, that there are lots of opportunities and that they should really look to try and harness their own creative abilities, and say you're always going to be more successful at something that you're good at, rather than something that you're going to fight against for the next 3 years and end up being a mediocre.
Yeah, being really determined to just stick with the.
I mean, if someone really wants to, they can.
Absolutely.
We don't stop them.
Absolutely.
But, we need to try and encourage people to introvert and understand themselves enough to say, look, this is the real you. And these are the things that you are good at. And that's their journey. And we encourage that journey with more modules that encourage reflection at the moment, and encourage them to really look at their pathway and their career pathway and make some good quality judgments. I know it's hard for students because they're still quite young, for them to make sound judgments like that, and some of them kind of feel, well, my whole life it depends on these judgments. But we try and help them we look at their work and we help them to understand what they're good at. We tell them that there's value in lots of areas. I always say to students that in terms of something like interior design, there's always another piece to designing an interior. There are thousands of parts in interior to design, so you're always going to have a lot of work. That's a really good thing.
I think the talks that industry have done, and yourself is a good example, Pierre. You come in and talk about Autodesk and the sort of products, but also the bigger picture, what that looks like. And when we invite 10 guests every week for the semester, and people come in, week out, we get a new view, a new person from a completely different industry. And that story is told slightly differently and openly and very honestly to the students. But they do see different things. And I think that they idolize or they admire people's history and where they've got to and how they got there, because they want to be involved in the industry. They're really keen to have a role of some sort. And so,
very good.
Does a student necessarily think in year one, especially, NURBS modelling or ISOM modelling is where I want to go, right? Probably not. But highlighting to them that, like your own history, they think, oh, I want to do that. Like, that sounds really cool. That's exactly what my parents think I want to do. That's what everybody else thinks I do. This is what I want to do. Okay, well, maybe that is an avenue. And having new people that they can admire and connect with them is really key to that, I think.
Yeah, it's a twofold as well. What I tell them also is that, let's say a few years ago, I won't say how many, you could just be a sketcher and that's it. You could just draw pretty cars, and if you were really good at it, that's totally fine. But I mean, a car was 7 years in development. Now you're lucky if you get 2. So I think the days of you doing only one thing those are over. Even in OEMs, you have to sketch well, obviously, but you still have to, dig in and help out on the modeling side, do your own visualization or other things that will help the company speed up their process. So that's what we're seeing as well.
And that openness is really key. We don't want the students to feel like they will fall into their dream position, because it's a fierce, tough world, right? And they need to be motivated to get to that position. They need to be aware of how hard that is and how hard they need to work to achieve greatness. And having people come in and say, look, this isn't as easy as maybe you think. You're going to have to really work for that. Is a great motivation to set themselves up for a degree that they're proud of. and a degree that has value and they've really worked for it. And that comes from these sort of motivational talks from industry and from staff. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you have a strong ties to the industry. So it gives them a nice, panel of people who have very different careers and different paths. And hopefully, as I said, I wish you become the next Jerry McGovern. But make sure you pick up all these tools along the way, because as I said, the world from when he was a student has changed quite a bit.
So it's interesting that I kind of look at Jerry McGovern's pathway, and he started out as a designer, and he has more to do with brand than the basic sketching nowadays. I know I kind of get the feeling he probably still does. He understands the basics, but within somewhere like JLR, there's most probably a brand department where the next Jeremy McGovern could grow out of.
And brand is a deep and complex world, right? And that's that's where it's that's.
Well, I think it's all about the brand.
There are so many shifts nowadays.
We come back to storytelling, we come back to that. Yeah.
So speaking of brand, we had our contest last year with Autodesk, which was the power of brand, and Coventry actually won that first contest. So once again, congratulations to both of you for teaching Harry and I forgot Charlie.
Yeah.
How do you reflect on their path and how they were able to win?
I think their path was interesting. So they're both of my final year students. Harry, I think, has always been really hardworking, respects in design integrity. I think he had a placement at Jaguar Land Rover for a year, so he really dug in hard in terms of learning Alias and the tools and being able to utilise that as a facility to express his ideas. Charlie, I've always known him as an extremely innovative guy who challenges as much as possible. So sometimes he could be interesting to tutor.
That's a great thing. Yeah,
but I like that. I like that personally. I thought that was a really positive attribute about him. And beyond that, he works really hard.12 of them work really hard. So both of those students that you had, I know. I think Charlie won 2 course competitions, concept design, as well as an SP1 design competition. The Autodesk competition, and his own FMP. His own FMP, and he participated on our Nissan Gravity Sketch design challenge. I mean, the guy works so hard, and this hard working ethic is something we keep trying to remind students about, that it's not easy. And Harry, I think both of them have had to work hard to get to where they wanted to be in terms of their skill base. And it's actually really useful to have those students come back. I know we talk about having some of the stars of industry come back, but having some of those recent students come back and talk to them about their journey, and remind students that it's hard work, and it's 3 years to change your life, basically.
And those students, I mean, when I was in school, I knew who the best sketchers were, and I knew who the best, maulers were, and they were always in the lab. They're always, behind a computer. So it's a good role model for everybody, really.
Yeah. So, but those guys were really hardworking. We do have lots of other guys who are also very hardworking. So work ethic is what we try and emphasise.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a marvellous opportunity for them. They're both very talented guys. So I'm really happy for them.
The benefit of having around 200 students across the years, and having a large pool to pick from, and this idea of collaboration that we talked about earlier was, having those final years, in the case last year, like Charlie and Harry, to work with the first years, or to work with different people, paint such a better picture of the ideal, right, of where they want to be, from somebody genuinely in a position that understands what they're about to go through in a relatively short amount of time, what they're going to have to achieve to achieve what they want, right? I think that's really part of the key thing. In terms of teaching, I think I joined year 2 teaching as they were just doing their final presentations, and then they went and did a placement, and then they've been through the final year as well now. So I didn't have very much contact with them, which is a shame. As much as I'd love to be able to say that I had, but hopefully in the coming years we keep showing more great students in these competitions, and continue to win.
Yeah, I think it was really important actually that we've just managed to update our PCs to 2006. We got 2006 eventually. Yeah.
2026.
Yeah, 2026.
I hope we're not in 2000.
Yeah, that'll be
sorry.
No, good.
Sorry, I always dyslexic. But keeping up to date with the latest iterations, helping students to understand the value of some of these tools is massively important for us. And we've got some, as I say, we've got some great facilities with some up to date and emerging technologies. So it's a big part of the role for them. Now, that's not to say that we're just a technical school, because we were once a polytechnic, and there's a difference between a polytechnic and a university. It's not a training school. People come here to grow as people and to understand how to train their minds and do things. It's a different thing. So it's not all about tools, but the tools play a big part in terms of their journey in design, because we are fundamentally physical. We're a physical course. We don't write theses. We don't do long dissertations. We make stuff. We draw pictures and make stuff. So ultimately, the tools are embedded into it, and we get to having our conversations with people like yourself and all our other emerging partners is massively important.
No, as I said, us at Automotive are very happy to stay involved with the students, to make them aware of other career paths, other tools in the studio, and those careers are fun and they're very well compensated. So that's part of our mandate, is to partner with the schools, make sure their students are equipped with the right tools, and that's also the reason for that contest. So if somebody wants to really push their design, visualization, modeling skills, it's a great avenue for them. So I know I'm mindful of your time. So in conclusion, Shaun, where do you see the future of the school? Now that you're the course director, where do you want to take it?
Well, as I said, I was seconded to the role, so I'm not sure how long I'll be here. It could be a year. And that's not because, James and I were any bad at it. It's just because someone's gone off to do something for a while, so they may come back, and that's life. In terms of the kind of impression we can make on it, I think bringing the making back into the design discipline, I think is just so important. I mean, we get feedback from industry members saying that we get students and they're great at thinking and they articulate ideas and they produce marvelous sketches, but they're just afraid of physical objects. And one of my big, when I think about this, I always think about one of my heroes of the art industry, Henry Moore. I always used to really admire, and I still do admire his work, looking at it, the way that, yes, he made large objects the size of 2-story buildings. And I think that's why I reflect on it, because it's the scale. We make big items. It's not like we make these tiny little things that you flick on and flick off. He used to make these, but if you look at his workshop, it was full of small maquettes, tiny little figurines that he'd do in order to help him decide. And I think we want to move towards students do more small scale stuff and valuing the idea of 3D sketching, digitally or, physically. And we have facilities where we can scan maquettes, so then they can then be put in as cloud data into something like Ayre, and you can build them. We kind of want to embody more the spirit of making.
We're quite at the early stages, I think we've been in this role for 2 weeks now, and you can't instantly flick a switch and say, right, this is revolution. We are certainly evolving this course. We've come into this role and these positions with great foundations built by Alan Barrett. And we're looking to build on that. And I think one of the things is just maintaining the brand of this course of automotive and transport design in Coventry, and focusing on providing the best that we can for our students and to attract the best students in the future. That's really key, So we're going to produce some sort of brand guideline words, I suppose, and some key words that can make sure that any activities that we do always come back down to those simplified words, but also keeping on top as the leader, and really running the greatest course that we can.
Yeah, I agree with James. I mean, it's interesting that I kind of came into this position. Was it about a month ago? No, it's not even been a month.
2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks ago. And then I said, right, I want to change everything. And then someone said to me, well, the semester starts next week.
Yeah.
We've got all this work. I said, no, I want it all simpler immediately.
Yeah.
And they go, not a chance, son. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a progression.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something we need to move to. And we do have some, as I said, we have some great partners we can work with to make that happen. I know we get a lot of help in terms of influence and guidance from some industry members. I mean, we get some really, really good guidance regarding Clay from JLR and yourselves regarding the digital skills. In terms of VR, we work with Gravity Sketch a lot at the moment. And in terms of AI, we've got a new partner, Imagine Art, who we're working with to help develop models and to help us understand more about the world of AI and to equip our students. So, I think we're trying to cover, respect the traditions of play, of drawing, but still look at the future. And understand that, because what's interesting is I was looking at one of the reports by Concept House. Concept House?
Yes.
Yeah. And they were saying that the number one desired skill by employees is AI integration at the moment. So we need to take that seriously enough without forgetting.
But the key word is integration.
Yeah,
right? That's the key.
Absolutely.
It's not just AI. It's not just like someone's going to just miraculously solve every problem in the world. It's the integration, and that only comes with that foundational teaching. Yeah,
and I think the report also sort of stated that, one of the major desires is for them to learn more about it. So we can help with that in terms of being a teaching institute, but we will also, remember the traditions of automotive design and find a place for it. I mean, one of the questions I've been asking myself, what is the role of the designer in this AI world? Where does it fit in? What input do we have? And defining that. And once that's been defined, then we can kind of describe that to students and make sure that they are sitting within the right place, because there's nothing worse than a lazy AI user who just types a word in, and then a picture comes out, and then they go, I've got the answer. No, you haven't got the answer. Someone else did it. In fact, who needs that person? That could be anyone, just someone with a lexicon of words to their sort of use. So, for us to make our students valuable, they need to use it sensibly. They can't run around and just type in words and think that's the end point. So integration is the word, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And they have to understand they are driving it. They just,
they're the drivers, yeah.
And just can't let the prompt just make their mind wanders. They have to be very have some intent when they use it. That's the
exactly.
Oh, absolutely. It's why earlier we were kind of talking about, the interrogation of the design, interrogating the outputs, making sure that they have the skills. If they don't like it, they change it, and that they don't have.
Very good.
They don't have the complacency to just take what they're given. They need to have the push, the drive, even the rebellion to say, I don't like this. I want it to look like this. And they go into AI or they go into Photoshop and they make those changes. And then if they need to feed it back in, that's fine. I found that with like image to video, that if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. It also won't sort out proportion problems. It won't sort out any of your issues with textures, colours. But if you get something out and you change it to what you want, then you can put it back in like image to video. Then it produces something that helps to explain your design in more depth and more vividly and quickly. And that helps you to get towards your end point quickly. So, yeah, I think we're kind of looking at the course as being expansive, but really still based in traditions.
Very good. I think that's a nice place for us to end up. But I like what well, obviously, I love your approach to have people come and talk about AI, teach them the digital stuff. That's where I come in. But I think the final word is I like what you said, Shaun. Making stuff. I like it.
Making stuff. It's all about making stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. So thank you, gents, for coming to the podcast, and good luck to Coventry. See if they will defend their title into our contest. I'll say I'll see you soon, and catch you later. Bye.
Thank you, Pierre.
Okay.
Thank you for watching, and catch you next time.